The story begins with a unique narrative structure, a series of transcribed interviews with various people connected to the priest's hunt. This documentary-like style adds an element of realism and makes the supernatural events feel more grounded, as if the interviews are piecing together a real-life mystery. The priest, a Lutheran minister, is presented as someone deeply rooted in his faith. He's a man of peace, trained to offer salvation to others, and not typically someone who would seek vengeance or harm another living being. However, his life changes when he's confronted with a vampire, a creature not just terrifying for its predatory nature, but because it is a hunter of hunters. The priest's initial encounter with the vampire leaves him unsettled, and soon he finds himself on a quest not only for survival, but for justice. This is where the tension begins to build. The priest must grapple with the idea of taking up arms against something unnatural and deadly, something that challenges the very essence of his beliefs. As the priest embarks on his journey to hunt down the vampire, the central moral dilemma he faces is whether it is justified to kill in the name of righteousness. As a man of faith, he has sworn to do no harm, and the thought of taking a life, particularly one that is supernatural, presents an enormous challenge. The deeper he delves into the hunt, the more he begins to question his faith and his understanding of evil. This section focuses on the internal conflict the priest faces. On one hand, he is morally compelled to stop the vampire, which poses an existential threat to both the living and the supernatural world. On the other hand, he is constantly reminded of his sacred vows and the teachings of peace and forgiveness. There's a sense of guilt that weighs on him as he realizes that in hunting this vampire, he has become something he once vowed to never be, a predator. His struggle deepens as he confronts the dark side of justice, whether it is truly justifiable to take a life in the pursuit of protecting others, and what the cost of that decision might be for his soul. The vampire at the center of the story is no ordinary creature. It is a hunter of hunters, a being that specifically seeks out those who try to destroy or control supernatural entities. This makes the vampire more dangerous and unpredictable than a typical monster. It's a calculated and intelligent being, capable of strategizing and staying one step ahead of its pursuers. As the story unfolds, we learn more about the vampire's backstory through interviews with people who have encountered it. The vampire is not just a mindless monster. It is a creature with motives and a mission, and it hunts those who would attempt to eliminate other supernatural beings. This makes it even more terrifying. The vampire has lived for centuries, evading hunters and leaving a trail of destruction behind it. However, it's not without its own set of rules. It seems to have an odd moral code, one that complicates the idea of it being purely evil. Some of the interviewees suggest that the vampire may have once been a victim of a similar persecution, which gives it a strange sense of revenge against those who seek to destroy its kind. This backstory gives the vampire a complexity that challenges the usual portrayal of monsters as one-dimensional threats. The heart of the story lies in the priest's pursuit of the vampire. As he sets out on his journey, the priest starts to transform from a man of peace into someone who must confront unimaginable horror. He ventures through dark, unfamiliar territories following the vampire's trail. Along the way, he interviews people who have had encounters with the vampire, each person revealing different aspects of the creature's abilities, behavior, and terrifying power. The priest begins to piece together the vampire's movements and motives, learning that this creature is not only deadly but highly elusive. The deeper the priest gets into his pursuit, the more he becomes consumed by it. His once clear sense of right and wrong begins to blur, and he becomes fixated on the idea of confronting this creature at any cost. He loses his sense of time and distance as the hunt draws him further into a psychological and emotional spiral. There is also the growing fear that the vampire is aware of the priest's pursuit, and may even be playing with him, leading him into traps or setting up psychological games to manipulate him. This part of the story builds suspense as the priest grows closer to his quarry, all while questioning whether he is truly capable of facing this otherworldly threat and surviving the encounter. The final part of the story sees the priest in a face-to-face confrontation with the vampire. This climactic moment is filled with both physical and psychological tension. The priest has hunted the vampire for so long, but now standing before the creature, he must face not only the threat to his life, but also the moral consequences of his choices. The battle is not just between a man and a monster, but between two ideologies: the priest's faith in justice and the vampire's twisted sense of revenge. The priest's faith is tested to its breaking point, and it's clear that the cost of this hunt may be more than he ever anticipated. As the confrontation unfolds, the priest's internal struggle intensifies. He must decide whether to follow through with the violence he believes is necessary or to abandon the hunt entirely, which may lead to the vampire's escape and the continuation of its deadly legacy. The outcome of the battle leaves the priest forever changed. The story ends ambiguously, with the consequences of the priest's actions rippling outward, suggesting that even if the vampire is defeated, the priest's soul and faith may have been compromised beyond repair. The story leaves readers to ponder the true cost of hunting evil and whether it's possible to confront darkness without becoming consumed by it. In The Buffalo Hunter, the themes of vengeance, moral ambiguity, and the price of justice take center stage. The priest's journey reflects the complex struggle between light and dark, faith and doubt, making it a deeply philosophical horror story. Through the use of interviews and the unique perspective of the priest, the novel explores the psychological toll of fighting supernatural evil and the personal transformation that comes with it. Thanks for watching Dark Dreamer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Dark Dreamer for exclusive content. Thanks.